We are already experiencing the impacts of climate change in the Southern Africa region. We are seeing more occurrences of droughts and floods. We are also seeing more occurrences of pests and diseases resulting from climate change. This has resulted in shortages of food, but at the same time, the region is grappling with the challenge of malnutrition.
In some cases here where we are supposed to be already in the short rain season, which is starting from October to December. It's October already, but there hasn't been no rain at the moment. So farmers who are used to grow during this short rain season can no longer grow anything.
There's uncertainty about what the future might look like. So what we hope is that iFEED will be able to support the decision making so that we don't end up making decisions now that make the future really hard.
If we have a high climate risk and then we have low technology, then there is a serious problem because we are under a very high risk and then we don't have the means to adopt to how we are going to survive under those situations.
For longest time, there has been a disconnect between research evidence and also policy and decision side. So what we've realized is that there is a lack of capacity. And what iFEED is doing is make sure that all the stakeholders that are involved in the process of generating the evidence are involved within a workshop to make sure that we collate all the inputs, to make sure that the tool itself and the results that are generated thereof then are more relevant and are delivering what's supposed to do in terms of national planning and decisions.
iFEED stands for the Integrated Future Estimator for Emissions and Diets. It's evidence-based, designed to build sustainable policy pathways in sub-Saharan Africa.
So iFEED in its analysis is giving us evidence about the future climatic patterns based on what we are actually seeing now and projections, even backward projections, and be able to give us a picture on how these are going to impact our farming engagements and who is likely to be affected. And then that gives us impetus to say, how do we support or address these challenges for the people or for the farmers that will be affected? So it's a very important project. It's a very important engagement in that regard.
It includes people from climate science, people from food science. We've got scientists from meteorology. We've also got people from agriculture, from economics. It's a mixture of different expertise coming together to find a common solution.
I think iFEED is so useful because of all the different disciplines involved in the project. I'm a climate scientist, but we also have soil and social scientists, an agricultural scientist, health scientists and policy scientists, as well as in-country expertise and stakeholders. So all these different disciplines and perspectives have been combined to create information that we hope should be very useful for decision makers in responding to climate change.
We looked at what are the crop physiological processes that happens in the plant and how those are affected by the climate impacts, as well as probably the extreme events that are happening in the AFRICAP target countries.
So for example, they can come up with projections to say, within the next maybe 3 to 4, 5 years, we are likely to see these kind of climatic patterns. And these are the kind of effects that we are likely to experience in the productivity, in maize production or in livestock production. And these are the kind of interventions that are likely to be, that we can promote to address and mitigate some of the effects that we might actually see. That's the difference.
It involves the understanding developed not only from the models and data, but also by interactions with experts and local stakeholders in the AFRICAP countries that we work in.
Participatory scenario workshops were a series of workshops that we had right at the start of the project, where we brought in experts and stakeholders and said, what matters to you when you're thinking about the future of agriculture in your country? What's important?
We are trying as a scientist to provide evidence. You see, this is evidence-based. When we provide the evidence of what we already have and what might happen in the future, that's when policymakers can use these evidences to suggest or to show the way how things should be done in the future, because we know that even in our lifetime, things have changed. They have not been the same as when I was a little kid, and now things are actually changing fast going into the 2050s.
iFEED is hopefully going to be a useful tool to policymakers throughout the food system, particularly in the 4 focal countries of AFRICAP. I think its real utility is taking a holistic view and thinking about how all of the different elements of the food system come together, particularly given the huge uncertainties over what food systems might look like by 2050, mid-century.
For me, it is like a preparation plan so that come 2050, we shall have known already that these things were anticipated. So for me, it's a very good plan that gives a calendar for us on what we can do, that gives action plans on what we can do so that we are not caught unawares by the emissions that may increase if we don't do anything, and climate change may become worse if we don't do anything, and it may impact on availability of food and improvement on nutrition or diets in general to the Zambian people and the people in the rest of the world at large.
My personal dream, if I can put it that way, is for this tool to be replicated beyond the pilot countries that at the moment are just Malawi, South Africa, Tanzania and Zambia.
We want to call upon policymakers, we want to call upon governments, we want to call upon farmer organizations, civil society organizations, and all other relevant stakeholders to use the information, to use the evidence that has been generated by the iFEED project to inform their programs, to inform their policymaking processes, so that we can be able to provide sustainable livelihoods for our people in our respective countries as well as in our region at large.